Were these Rams for real? Nobody really knew as they came into AT&T Stadium Sunday 2-1 because they really hadn't played anybody. Then they beat the Dallas Cowboys on their home field 35-30, improved to 3-1 on the season. With Gary Klein, I'm Lindsay Theory for the Los Angeles Times. Now don't get too far ahead of yourselves, Rams fans, because this team, they were 3-1 last season. Then they went on to only win one more game. However, after visiting that post-game locker room, after seeing the product Sean McVay has put on the field, it's probably a safe bet that this Rams team, they're going to win more than just one more game this season.
This definitely feels different than 2016. The players say it, we see it. I think fans watching at home, they've seen it too. This is just a different feel, a different 3-1. The Rams have scored more than 30 points in three of their 4 games. Sean McVay has the offense going, and when you're scoring points, you're going to be in every game.
Aaron Donald was asked if this team feels different than last year's, and he says, "Aw, hell yeah," as several defensive linemen chimed in. Robert Quinn, he was walking around the post-game locker room wearing a bathrobe, quite stylish and sleek as every teammate stopped to give it a look. These guys were in such a good mood. Obviously, that can turn south really quick. But, Gary, just what Sean McVay's selling there, the we, not me thing, it seems like they're really buying in.
You mentioned it at the top of this, right? They were 3-1 last year. But this vibe, whatever McVay has injected into this organization, they're buying it. And if you go back to last year when they looked ahead, oh, we've got to keep improving it, we got to keep this rolling, things are going to get better. And they just didn't have the offensive firepower to do that. They do now. Jared Goff is maturing. Todd Gurley, over 100 yards for the second straight game, and also the top receiver. So the offensive line is doing its job. At this point, when you finish that first quarter of the season, things look pretty good for the Rams.
When Todd Gurley and Tavon Austin are both smiling after a game, that in itself is a victory. All right, Greg Zuerlein, he's the real hero of the day. He made 7 field goals. Unbelievable, 7 field goals. A little bit scary that the Rams couldn't turn any of those into touchdowns, but nevertheless, a good fallback for Jared Goff.
The fact is, as Goff says, every time they get inside the 30-yard line, in his mind, he's thinking, I've got points. Now, they need more points. They need to get into the end zone. But Greg Zuerlein has been absolutely consistent. 14 for 14 on field goals during the season, 7 today. I mean, I was getting tired looking at the score sheet, trying to figure out those distances. But he gives them another offensive weapon. And when you combine him with Goff and Gurley, Sammy Watkins a little quiet today, but Cooper Kupp reemerging, Tavon Austin, McVay has plenty of weapons at his disposal.
The Cowboys fired Wade Phillips in 2010. He was their head coach. This was his first time facing his former team. Looked like it wasn't going to go so well for Wade in the first half. The defense allowing the run to get going. They were allowing Dak Prescott to pass the ball. And then they came out in the second half, and it was a completely different look for the Rams defense as they made several key plays and stopped them when it really counted there late in the fourth quarter.
If you talk to the players, they said they didn't make any major adjustments. They just played better in the second half.
I'm not buying that.
Well, they gave up, I think, 133 yards rushing in the first half. The second half, after giving up points on every possession, they shut them down the first 3 or 4. They gave the offense a chance, gave Zuerlein more of an opportunities. So, we don't come out of here saying, hey, the Rams defense is fixed, everything looks rosy. But they showed improvement in the second half against a very good offensive team. So moving forward into next week, I think they've got to be encouraged.
Next week, it's the Seattle Seahawks. Now the Rams 3-1. They're in first place in the NFC West. This is a division opponent. Of course, Pete Carroll returns to the Coliseum, and it's always a game that locally in L.A. now, going back to last season, all the way back, that people get pumped up for.
And this is a very different-looking Rams team that's going into that game. If you recall, last year, the Rams won 9-3. They didn't even score a touchdown. Greg Zuerlein kicked 3 field goals. Well, this is a team that is able to produce yardage, is able to eat up some clock, can get into the end zone, although they need to do it more often. But this is a different offensive team than a very good Seattle Seahawks defense is used to seeing.
All right, that's going to do it for us from AT&T. Once again, the Rams come away with an improbable victory, 35-30 over the Cowboys. We'll see you back in Los Angeles for a full week's coverage as the Rams get ready for the Seahawks. With Gary, I'm Lindsay.